What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a really special custom knife overview to do with you guys. This is the Gareth Bull Custom Shamwari. I am very fortunate to be able to take a look at one of these on my channel. This knife was provided for review by my good buddy Kyle. Kyle has actually offered knives for review multiple times and has been a fantastic supporter of this channel. So Kyle, thank you, man. Really, I really appreciate the the knives you've lent to me, and just how long you've been with the channel, man. I really appreciate it. He's right there with Shaker and Spirited Whiskey and Jeff, just people who really have helped support me, along with many others. Guys, this is a custom knife. It's also one that is in ridiculously limited supply. Kyle let me know, and I've heard this many times, when a Shamwari becomes, there's like little batches, right? There's like batches of 10 or 11. This was in one of the most recent batches of like 11, and within an hour there were 600 people who that you post in on his Facebook group or his Instagram group. That's the only way to get your hands on one, is to be a part of that. And you got to be fast. Those of you who've watched Dr. Frunky's episode, you got to be fast. They're not something that are available to everybody. Now, I've heard rumors of a production Shamwari. There is a field grade Shamwari. This is the standard version, but still a full custom version. Once this knife is made, if this knife is ever made more widely available in a production variant, I'll be able to do a full review on it. But you guys kind of know how I handle custom knives on this channel. Number one, they're very expensive. Number two, they're generally limited, so it's really difficult for me to give a review and say whether or not I recommend them. If you're in the custom knife world and you're interested in stuff like that and you have an opportunity, I'll still give you my thoughts on it. But that's kind of how I like to approach this kind of thing. Like to remind everybody, I am currently nearing my goal of 85 patrons, so won't do my usual thing, but I do have a goal. You can go read about it if you'd like to check out my Patreon down in the description of this video. You can follow the link, and then you can have a look around, and you can join any tier. I've got some cool stuff. Here's one of my stickers that's made available at one of the lower tiers there, so if you want to check that out, that'd be great. Anyways, let's go ahead and get a measurement on this beautiful knife. You guys know how much I love simplistic aesthetics. Lots of beauty in that. 8 inches overall, just wonderful. Tip to scale, you're looking at 3.5 inches. How about the cutting edge? About 3.3 inches. Is that not just on the money? I mean, maybe people are like, well, if that's the size you like. I feel like a lot of people like this size. That just is right there in that sweet spot. It's great. How about some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1? Rat 1 is coming in at 8.6 inches overall, so you can see there's a little bit bigger. How about up against the Spyderco PM2? Spyderco PM2 is coming in at 8.3 inches overall, so again, just a little bit bigger. How about up against the Benchmade Reptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue? Ritter Hogue coming in at 8 inches on the dot. So you can see there exactly the same length as a Benchmade Reptilian or Ritter Hogue. How about up against the Benchmade Bug Out? Benchmade Bug Out coming in at 7.5 inches overall. So again, it's interesting. The profile here is they're in a lot of ways, this is a bigger, thicker Bug Out with a different deployment mechanism and different lock, but you can see there, those of you who kind of like the profile of the Bug Out, obviously different elements, but the profile of the Bug Out, just looking for something more robust and obviously custom and much more expensive, and honestly completely different in a lot of ways. There you go. Spyderco Para 3 coming in at 7.25 inches overall. All of that stuff, including, actually I was going to check the I've decided to kind of take an opportunity to do this part of the segment where I check the pivot size on camera, so you guys know. This is a T8. Yeah, so that's actually going to be a little bit bigger, I believe. Let's try a T9. Is it a T9? Yeah, so the pivot is a T9. Now these handle screws down here appear to be a T6. So we have a WIA T6 right here. Let's go ahead and check that real quick. Yeah, it's gonna be a T6. For those of you who don't know, this is my WIA bit selector. Love it, use it all the time. Comes with an extender, and then I couple it up with this WIA magnetic driver. Those are awesome and very inexpensive. There are links to both of those items down in the description, as well as all the knives that you just saw that I use as size comparisons and many other knives. I've got something down there for everybody. Be sure to check it out if you've got an itch that needs to be scratched. Anyways, how's the action on this guy, right? Custom knife running on ceramic bearings. I can tell you guys right now, the action is absolutely fall shut. Absolutely. We're kind of working at an angle here. I had to crouch down to make that work, but yeah, this is a glassy smooth, just above and beyond perfect action. No complaints there whatsoever. Oh my gosh. Just talking and doing one lunge to get down and do that demonstration of the action has me out of breath. Oh my gosh. Either I'm out of shape or I talk way too much. Let's go ahead and weigh this guy. In this version of the Shamwari, this is the large version, by the way, and it's all titanium. Now, these do come in a couple different variations. I believe there are carbon fiber overlay versions, so technically some people call that a liner lock, some people call that a frame lock with overlays. That would weigh a little bit less, and then I think there are some with different milling patterns, and there's a smaller one, but this is probably one of the biggest, beefiest, chunkiest models, and you're coming in at still only 4.9 ounces. Now, for a lot of people, they're still going to call that heavy. For me, especially considering the pill shape of this knife, the carry profile is just beyond excellent, and it's not overly thick, you know, not by my standards. I mean, if we're comparing it here to the Para 3, you can see there it's literally the exact same thickness. So it looks like a tank, but it really isn't. So 4.9 ounces to me, it's well within my comfort zone. You know, all carry knives that are all the way up to 6.25 ounces or 6.5 ounces, as long as the carry profile is good. So I have no issues with that whatsoever. So who is Gareth Bull? Well, I don't know a lot about Gareth Bull other than he has designed this knife that has just blown up and become very popular. And, you know, there's a trend. Like and maybe it's just me. Maybe I visually and mentally am attracted to certain things, so my ears are open to this kind of stuff. But I swear, it's like these ultra simple, straightforward designs are just gaining all of this traction. When you think about the Holt Spectre, kind of same thing. It's like there's simplicity there, but there's also complexity like hidden in there, and it's awesome because like taking a step back from this, it's a very simple handle, and it's a very simple blade, but then you get up close and there's all these design elements that are the complexity's in there, but it's kind of buried deep, and you have to get up and really look at it. And I like stuff like that, and I feel like there are a lot of people who really like that. Some people like the wild and the crazy. In fact, I've got a couple of customs over here that we're going to look at in the next few weeks that are very wild and crazy, and a lot of people like that. But it seems like these knives that really grab people's attention, that take the knife community by storm lately, it seems like they are very simple designs. Now, the Shamwari is not brand new. It has been around for a little bit. It's not like, you know, it's not like forever, but I mean, I remember reading something about it or seeing something about it recently that was dated back in 2015. So I don't know the origins of it, but I know that it's been around for a while. Gareth Bull and his brother Jason Bull, both they are South African custom knife makers. And I know that they make this and the smaller one, and that they're very popular and very difficult to get a hold of. That is all that I know about it. We're looking at 6AL4V titanium and M390. Now, the biggest deal with this knife is the deployment mechanism, and it's one that's become popularized here lately. And some popular models did okay with it, and some popular models did really well with it, and some models just flat out failed with it. I'll say this, same thing that I said in the unboxing. I managed to do it first try, even though I'm struggling with it there. But this is probably the most confident, despite this knife being expensive, this is probably the most confident I've been with a front flipper. Something about where my hands are, where my thumb is positioned when I'm deploying it, makes me, and I've gotten better at it. But this is set up to do that, and it's really cool. Is there an advantage to a front opener, or top opener, or thumb flicker, whatever you want to call these? No. It adds a level of fidget factor that has become like very like, oh, I want that because it's different. You know, this knife world is just flooded with frame lock flippers. So we see stuff like this and it's different. And it's like, wow. And then it's like got that cool, elegant, kind of like fancy EDC guy, you know, kind of cocktail party vibe. but maybe you're also a secret agent on the side. I don't know. That's the vibe that I get from it. And yeah, it's cool. You know, it's very, very cool. On top of that, we're talking all about the fancy elements. I'm only covering the things that are beyond utility. In terms of a utilitarian cutting tool, oh my, yes. Yes, this is very much set up for that. We are looking at an M390 blade. This has been hand satin finished. Look how beautiful. Let me get my stupid fingerprints off of that. My goodness. What is wrong with me? Don't touch the blade. I know better. A beautiful hand rub satin finish on there. Still didn't get my fingerprints completely off it. Almost in some places actually looks mirror polished. It's very near mirror up on the flats and up on the swedge, but very high grind here. You can see the blade is fairly tall. And considering my calipers out that I have very carefully wrapped in tape so as to protect the blades from the metal on the calipers, we are looking at a blade stock thickness of, unsurprisingly, 150 thousandths, but quite a bit of room to drop down to what feels like a freakish laser beam. You guys say, like, you know, you're probably thinking, you throw that term around loosely a lot. You know, you say, like, it's pretty good, it's pretty thick behind the edge, or it's a laser beam. Yeah, that's true. Oftentimes I will describe knives like this, but I will only say laser beam if it feels incredibly thin down there behind the edge, and it does. Very bitey, very thin edge. That thing is ready to perform. I would imagine it will. I think it doesn't take, you know, I'm not a professional, but I don't think it takes a professional to know that a blade like this is really ready to cut. There's nothing in the cutting path. The finish on the blade will reduce any drag that would otherwise be there. I mean, there's just nothing there. On top of that, you know, all these areas down here on the spine, it's been crowned. Everything is rounded off. There's absolutely no sharp edge anywhere in any part of this, except for, of course, the tip and the sharpened blade. I always have somebody crack a joke. There's no sharpened edge on the entire knife. Oh, unsubscribe. Yeah, it's hilarious. You're almost as funny as you think I am, or as I think I am. Anyways, the blade doesn't have any other maker's markings except for the Gareth Bull marking right here. And actually, somebody will have to correct me if that marking is actually from Gareth Bull or if it's a collaborative mark. I cannot remember exactly. I'm so sorry about that, but I just feel like the profile of this, the way this is set up, the M390 blade steel, you know, the polishing, it's just a darn near perfect blade. I have no complaints. The blade is awesome. Moving down here to the oh, and it does have a little bit of jimping right back here, not up here, but then, you know, in practice when I was holding it, I was like, yeah, that does kind of make sense. I kind of like how that's right there. That's kind of where I want to push down. So really like that. Moving down here to the frame, we do have nicely rounded, very much like how Chris Reeve, like the Nkosi and the Sebenza and the Umnumzan and a lot of his knives actually, it's very similar to that in terms of the bead blasting that's done on the titanium, sort of a chalky feeling, but it's very smooth contour. It's going to pick up snail trails, but I like the contrast between the satin finish on the blade and the titanium. On this particular one, of course, we have that polished T8 or T9 pivot screw, and then the pivot collar is actually zirconium, as well as the dressy side of the pivot collar over here, which is doubling as the over travel stop, much like you see in Curtis knives, how they do that. So that's interesting. I really like that. Big fan of zirconium. I like how it looks in contrast to titanium and polished steel, so that's nice. Nothing, just nothingness, beautiful nothingness on the titanium. Now, there's a lot of different versions of this. Like I said, you can get probably different finishes. There's probably hyper exotic versions. There's ones with the carbon fiber and blah, blah, blah. This particular one is a standard model. It's just got the plain titanium. You do have a single T6 body screw back here. You have a, I would imagine I wonder if the standoff is also zirconium. I didn't ask Kyle about that. That's really cool. See, it's just a single screw going over to this other side, and it's domed and polished. That's beautiful. Pivot, screw, and that's it. That's pretty cool. Check out how the pocket clip fits into the frame here. Wonderful. There's 2 screws on the other side that hold that pocket clip in, and then it's got a perfect pocket that's milled in there, and just I almost, you know, thought, like, is the pocket clip all part of the frame? No, it's just very carefully fit into the frame. That is beautiful. I will admit that bill is a little bit too high for me. I would have preferred it kind of went off more that way. Wasn't so prominent and ready to be caught by the first thing you walk by that's sticking out, but that's okay. I do notice it just a little bit in hand. For anybody who's actually considering purchasing one of these and going out and using it, extended use will make that pocket clip known to your hand. Your hand and that pocket clip are going to develop a relationship of types. Probably not an ultra positive one, but I felt like that was something I definitely wanted to point out there. Other than that, though, the other side of this is very plain and it's very appealing. There is no steel lock bar insert. Again, I don't necessarily think knives need that. Absolutely perfect centering, and we do have lockup that is right about 30%, 35% solid, no blade play up, down, left, or right. This is one of my very favorite custom knives that I've ever seen. I'm biased. I enjoy things. Sorry, I'm going to clean more fingerprints off. I enjoy simplicity. I enjoy details that I have to look for. I love handle designs that are very straightforward, blade designs that are very straightforward. This knife ticks a lot of boxes for me, and I'll admit I enjoy the front opening thing. It's not my deployment mechanism of choice. It's not something that I would choose, but I find that it gives this knife the character that I think everybody else is finding in it. It's cool, it's different, and it's a great example of a front flipper. It appeals to so many people because of its simplistic aesthetic, and it's good for all of those reasons. Would it be cool if there was a flipper version of it? Yeah, but then it would be very similar to like everything else out there. Would it be cool if it was a thumb stud version? Yeah, I would really like that. I would. This handle, this is all the more complicated a knife handle needs to be, right? It's got one area, primary area for your index finger. The rest of it is just sort of palm swell and contouring, and it works. It's perfect. It doesn't need anything else. It doesn't need a lanyard hole, doesn't need a glass breaker, doesn't need excessive jimping all over the place. It's just straightforward and simple, and that's why so many people are saying that it's EDC perfection. This is a fantastic knife, and I'll tell you, I was shocked, Kyle, when you told me how much this was. Now, for those of you who don't, number one, if you don't put any value past the utility of the object, then this isn't going to make any sense to you. But for those of you who understand, value beyond utility in a knife or anything that's handmade, and you understand value, in a and this makes it, I sound kind of arrogant and like nose in the air, but I'm saying if you're one of those people who puts value in things beyond just utility, then you're going to understand what I say here. Kyle told me he picked this up direct from Gareth Bull for $950, and I was shocked. Now, when he told me the secondary market prices on these, because people are like, wow, only $950. Secondary market prices on these, because they're so unavailable and they're in such high demand, they go for, right now, check the date on the video, but right now, Kyle told me between $2,000 and $2,200. I believe that. I've heard similar things. Now, prices are going to fluctuate, might go down, might go up. It depends on what you're looking at. If it's this exact version, what I just said will apply to it somewhat, but it's going to be all over the place, right? This one was brand new, and if I would imagine people in the secondary market are wanting brand new, so that's going to be the way it is. If they were readily available, I would say for a custom knife, $950, anybody who's ready to spend that type of money, grab it right now. But it's really hard to say that because these aren't readily available. My overall opinion of this knife is, holy cow, it's amazing. It kind of stinks it's got a T6 body screw, and I don't really like the pocket clip, but my God, is it perfect other than that. This was really, really fun. This is going to be going on my favorite knives of all time playlist, and that's about it because, like I said, I can't openly recommend it. But if you get an opportunity, if you're somebody who's ready to spend this type of money and you get an opportunity to spend $950 on this, and you like the aesthetic of this, I would say to those people, yeah, it's going to be worth it. You're going to be very impressed with this. You're going to be very happy with it. It has all the elements of a custom knife and then some, and if you can get it for that kind of money, you're just going to be blown away. Now, I've handled knives that are twice the price from the maker that feel not quite as good as this, It's one of those things. I'm very, very impressed by this, and I just really enjoy it. Guys, that's going to be pretty much it for this video. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex right here, Metal Complex logo right here, and subscribe because there's definitely more content coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.